Hi everyone, I'm Chris Hernandez and this is the Weekly Report. The mayor has just launched his conversation about race and equity, and it all starts with an interactive conversation that you can join. The mayor is convening a group to take a look at the origins and devastating effects of systemic racism in our community, and it's also about how we can start working together to confront and dismantle these barriers.
Now, it's pretty clear to me, and I don't know if anybody came here with this expectation, but I do not think that we are going to solve the problem of racial inequality in the next 90 minutes. I could be wrong, and if we are able to do that, I would urge all of us to stay here, enter into a contract, because we can then sell whatever we've done around the world and all become quite rich. I don't think that's going to happen. We're not going to fix the system, and we're not going to alleviate our own prejudices. But what we will have done is together we will have taken a step forward, and that's very, very important.
So let's talk about open spaces, the new art experience happening in Kansas City right now. We're at the corner of Linwood and South Benton. This is the Hope Center, a former church. Nick Cave is one of the top contemporary artists in the country right now, a graduate of the Kansas City Art Institute, now based in Chicago. He has created one of the top exhibitions for this experience. Let's go inside and take a look. This is a pretty amazing installation that uses the latest video projection technology to create an experience that you will not see anywhere else. And this is specific to Kansas City, only for open spaces. You'll want to see this and bring your friends. For more information, check the details at openspaceskc.com or download the Open Spaces KC app. What do Max, Bella, Charlie, and Lucy all have in common? They're some of today's most popular names for dogs. They also have in common that we want to keep all of our dog friends safe and healthy, and that's why the city is taking a fresh look at the Animal Health Code, and we want your input. We've already held a series of town hall meetings. Now we are moving the conversation online to gather even more of your input. We have questions posted on Nextdoor, which is a social media site for neighborhoods, as well as on the city's online town hall, kcmomentum.org. You can respond online at your convenience. You know, it's back to school time, and as you gather up your school supplies, you might also want to think about your emergency kit. What sort of emergency supplies do you need? September is all about this topic. It's Emergency Preparedness Month. So make sure your emergency kit is ready in the home and in your car. Make sure you have 3 days worth of essentials such as food, medicine, and pet supplies. That's a good start. So go to marc.org, that's MARC.org, for a checklist. And have you heard of Alert KC? Be sure to sign up online at kcmo.gov/alertkc so that you can receive emergency text alerts from the city straight to your cell phone. Remember, curbside trash and recycling pickup moves 1 day later than usual for the holiday schedule this week. Also, be sure to stay right where you are and watch all of these videos for more information about what's happening in the city of Kansas City, Missouri. This is the Weekly Report.
Art is the soul of the people in this city. A first-of-a-kind event that we've done here in Kansas City is attracting attention all over the world. We have international artists, local artists, regional artists. There'll be music, there'll be food, there'll be visual arts, there'll be performance arts. This is a place for us to come together, unite, to see some truly magnificent art that we would ordinarily not be able to see, but for the tremendous efforts of Scott Francis and Susan Gordon. This is what Kansas City is about.
The way I see it now, it looks somewhat frightening.
The schism between the haves and have-nots is growing larger.
There's a disconnect between those who are being the active change agents on a daily basis and those who are talking about it and theorizing about it.
Right now, a lot of people feel like they're being left behind.
We have got to do better. We have got to close the gap in minority achievement.
People actually don't want to acknowledge that there isn't equity within the city.
When there's a denial of reality, when leadership is unwilling to be humble in a sense of learn and listen, I don't think there's much room for hope.
The elephant in the room is segregation, oppression, marginalization. And we cannot sit here and act as if it doesn't exist.
It's a virus, and we have to completely eliminate that virus.
I don't want our community to be, hoodwinked. I don't want them to be deceived in any way. I want to make sure that our community understands that even if we don't have the answers, we're working toward the answers.
It's really about being willing to truly learn. And sometimes that means unlearning some of the things that you think you know.
The most challenged space in Kansas City is in people's minds and their own self-segregation.
What can we do now that is going to address this, to put our children in a better place?
We have to change our way of thinking, our way of just acclimating to the environment and to new communities.
Hopefully what that allows for is the type of progressive, the type of evolutionary decision-making where you make new mistakes. You don't make the same ones you either made or that someone else made before you.
We know that when everybody achieves, when everybody contributes, the outcomes are better for everybody.
It's a matter of us being courageous enough to have the conversations and to bring everybody to the table and say, okay, we recognize that there's a lot of pain, but how do we come together now and move forward?
The future to me is a place where people of color are at an equal standing in the world, and they feel like they matter. They feel like they have a place where, in a world that systemic racism no longer exists.
But we have got to be committed to keeping that hope alive.
And if you had the misfortune of having your car involved in an accident, being abandoned, illegally parked, or being arrested, or having your car stolen, you will probably find that your car has been left down here.
The old tow lot kind of had the reputation of a junkyard. And it was an old fenced lot. It had a chain link fence around it that was fallen over, gravel lot, a lot of wrecked vehicles, parts all over the place. Nothing was really segregated. There was really no organization to it. Everything is very organized. Everything has a place. Everything has a very specific area for things to go to, and it's secured. I mean, if you look around the facility, it's well lit. There's a really solid fence around it. The lots are separated. Just for an example, the hold lot, anything that comes in on a police investigation has its own special lot with its own special crime lab. In the previous lot, it was just put in the corner of a lot, open to everyone else. Everyone had access to it. There was really no security before. So that's what this lot brings, is a sense of security, a sense of organization, and a sense of professionalism that we simply didn't have in the previous lot.
I'd like to welcome you to the auction today. Also, all of your online bidders.
On auction day, people come from all over the place. They come to our auction physically. They're bidding online. We have online bidders every single auction as well. And they're bidding on each and every one of the vehicles that we have available for auction. In the auction on that day, everything will sell. Everything will disappear, going to the rightful owners, and we'll process everything we need to for them. And all the vehicles will be removed, and we do that every single month. Just based on the volume of vehicles that are left here that people simply do not want.
Improvements are happening in the 18th and Vine District. The first is a new water main. The 8-inch main that's in the ground now has been there since 1882. That's 136 years. KC Water is replacing that pipe with a larger 12-inch main for enhanced water service.
We're improving it for all the businesses and the apartments along 18th Street right here.
This project starts at Woodland Avenue and continues west past Truce to Campbell Street. To help lessen the impact on drivers, a lane of traffic in each direction will remain open throughout the project. As often happens, once the digging starts, workers unearth surprises.
We actually opened up the ground and we discovered a bunch of piers for a rail, we think for a rail line. There's a lot of concrete columns along the trench, and we've had to remove them every 5 feet or so.
The water main project is expected to be completed in early May. That's when the Public Works Department will start work on street resurfacing, sidewalk repair, landscaping, and other upgrades.
Primarily, we want to get out of it. We want to get our utilities replaced before they come through and beautify the area, so we're not tearing it up again later.
This is part of KC Water's Water Main Replacement Program, a strategic and data-driven initiative to replace the water mains that are most at risk of failure. Since the program started in 2014, KC Water has replaced more than 120 miles of water main in Kansas City. All of this work enables KC Water to continue providing Kansas City with safe, reliable drinking water for today's customers and future generations. For KC Water, I'm Brooke Givens.
My name is Kelsey Goins, and I have worked at the Kansas City Zoo for a little over 5 years now.
My name is Carrie O'Connor. I've been a Water's Edge keeper for a little over a year.
My name is Karen Swanson. I'm on the Baobab team in Africa. We take care of from the cheetahs to the gorillas, the leopard. In total, we have close to 100 animals.
I always knew that I wanted to work with animals, but I wasn't quite sure in what capacity. So then I noticed we had a minor program at MU called Captive Wild Animal Management. So like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. And for my minor, I interned at Dickerson Park Zoo, and it was really cool. Loved it, and that's when I knew I wanted to be a zookeeper.
I have always loved animals since I was a little kid. I grew up in a rural area, so I always had animals. And when I was in college, going to KU, I started working at a nature center. Took care of a lot of different animals there and really just loved it.
Well, I always knew I wanted to work with aquatic animals. I had this dream that I was gonna live on a research boat and like that was gonna be my life. And so right after I graduated, I got an internship on a whale watching institute on a boat, and apparently I get super seasick. So I realized really quickly like that dream had to change. So then I got an internship at the Indianapolis Zoo after that, and I fell in love with zookeeping and working with penguins and stingrays and sharks and all kinds of animals, and I immediately was just like, this is what I have to do.
A common misconception that I think we get a lot here when we're working is people seem to think all we do is feed animals, although the animals would love it if that's all we did is walk around and feed them all day.
Probably the biggest misconception about my job is that I get to sit around all day cuddling adorable, cute animals. We do a lot of training and we do interact with the animals a lot, but I'm never sitting down and cuddling with them.
The biggest misconception about being a zookeeper is probably that we're just glorified poop scoopers. We're not. We do a lot more than that. It's about making the animals' lives better, enriching them so every day is different for them. And also we do a lot of conservation work, and we also do a lot of training to help better their lives and better our experience with them and our relationship with them. So it's more difficult than people think, but it is also really fun, and we do scoop poop. But we're not glorified poop scoopers, that's for sure.
My favorite part of my job is, of course, when we have new babies, whether it's a Wyoming toad tadpole or a red panda cub. It's always very exciting, especially when they are an endangered species. It's always a good time when you have new babies.
My favorite part about being a zookeeper, and I'm sure everyone says the same thing, is just working with the animals, obviously. They have really distinctive personalities. Even like stingrays, people think, oh, they're just animals and they're just fish and they don't have personalities, but they really do, and they're all really weird and awkward just like humans, and it's just so much fun to learn the different things about the animals that makes them individuals like us, you know.
My favorite part about being a keeper is getting to share my love for the animals with everyone that I get to encounter. Just sharing that excitement with the kids and adults that are walking through here, seeing how just amazing these animals are and how individual they are, and building those connections.